Hey, Mike Filipov here from PracticeGuitarNow.com. In this video, I'll show you a really cool exercise that improves your efficiency and speed in your picking hand, but more importantly, I'll show you how to go beyond just playing the notes of a little exercise, and how to develop into your own cool licks that sound awesome, that are fun to play, they'll keep you from getting bored when you practice, and improve a variety of areas of your musical skills, not just your picking. So let's look at the exercise itself first. It's a 2-string pattern, and the pick is stuck between the B string and the G string the entire time. Now the fretting hand's job is not that difficult. It's pretty easy to play the notes of this pattern with the fretting hand. But the pick has to move really, really efficiently, or else you're not going to be able to play the notes fast. There are two things you must pay attention to make your picking motions as efficient as possible here. First, make sure that the pick moves straight down and straight up after each note. It should not move away from the strings at all. Here's an example of it played slowly and correctly. Notice how I never allowed my pick to move away from the strings. There was none of this motion. These motions are huge and very inefficient, and you could also hear some sloppy noise as well because the strings weren't being muted when my pick was moving away from the strings. So make sure that the pick moves straight down and straight up for each note. The second key to pay attention to is to use sweep picking motion every time you change strings. So for example, if I play a downstroke on the B string, then upstroke on the B string, notice how my pick is already pressing against the G string immediately after playing an upstroke on the G string. It's all one motion. There's no stopping, there's no break in between the two notes, there's no loss of momentum. It's like this, upstroke, and the pick just arrives to touch the G string already, ready to play it. If I were to stop after the upstroke on the B string and then start to move again to play the upstroke on the G string, that is incorrect, because that requires my pick hand to stop and then starting to move again. That is a loss of inefficiency, and it makes it very difficult to play fast. And the same works in the other direction. So after I play an upstroke on the G string and a downstroke on the G string again, my pick has already arrived to the B string again, ready to play it with another downstroke. There's no stopping between the G string and the B string. It's one motion with a downstroke from the G to get to the B string. Here's the exercise played very slowly, and pay attention to how my picking hand is never stuck in between the G string and the B string. It always takes advantage of sweep picking motions whenever possible to change strings quickly and efficiently. Here it is a little bit faster, and notice how smooth and efficient the picking hand motions look because there's no interruption and no break in momentum on string changes. So look at your picking hand when you practice and pay attention to these two keys, which are moving the pick only straight up and down for each note and not letting the pick swoop away from the strings, and using the sweep picking motion whenever possible to change strings to maximize the efficiency in your picking hand. Alright, so now that you know what to focus on technically with this lick, how do we go beyond this little pattern? How do you extend it all over the guitar to create your own cool licks with it? Well, this is where your knowledge of scales and fretboard visualization becomes really, really important. And if you don't understand what I mean by fretboard visualization, check out another video of mine on this topic that explains what it means to practice fretboard visualization and shows how to do it. There's a link to this video on the screen right now. What you need to do is analyze the notes of the basic exercise determine what is the most likely scale that these notes are taken from. And in this case, the best answer is G major or E minor. So knowing that this is the basic pattern we're dealing with, your next step is to extend this pattern to the next position of the G major scale or E minor scale and use the same basic sequencing pattern in this case. So you create a longer pattern from the same scale that uses the same sequencing idea. So it sounds like this. Notice how this higher pattern sounds like an extension of the previous pattern, and it is because the notes are from exactly the same scale, G major or E minor. And the next step is to extend it even higher to the next shape of the scale, in this case, G major or E minor. So all together, so far we have this. So now your assignment is to figure out the rest of the pattern. Move it all the way up to however many frets you have on your guitar. If you have 24 frets, go all the way up to the 24th fret and then work your way back down using the same picking pattern. So you're working on your picking hand efficiency the entire time, while at the same time you got a cool sequence to play that you can use over a backing track in the context of a solo, over a song, whatever the case is, and have a lot more fun than just being stuck here in this little pattern. So the takeaway message here is whenever you practice any exercise, go beyond just playing whatever the notes are on the page. Identify what the actual notes are, what is the most likely scale those notes are taken from, and see how you can challenge your fretboard visualization by expanding or extending the exercise to other places on the guitar. See if you can create a little sequence out of it, as I just demonstrated, or even simply move it to another set of strings, another key, somewhere else on the guitar where your brain has to think and doesn't just go on autopilot as you mindlessly play the notes over and over. So in this case, we got this basic pattern. But you can also, of course, move it to a different set of strings, something like this. And extend it to a different key on strings A and D in this case. So you can have a lot of fun here and practice it for many, many hours and don't get bored and still get all the same technical benefits in the process. And above all else, you must remember that your brain is your primary practice tool. Your brain controls what your hands are doing, what you're focused on, and it determines whether whatever is supposed to be done is actually being done correctly. And if it's not done correctly, your brain is supposed to make adjustments so that you're training correct habits every single minute you practice your guitar. So it's important to know what to focus on and how to focus on it, and then know exactly how to train yourself to have the discipline and perseverance to focus on it without burning out and becoming bored. So this is what I work with guitar players on in my Rapid Fire Guitar Practice Training course that explains to you exactly what to focus on, how to do it, and I hold your hand every step of the way to train your brain to become really efficient like a supercomputer to process all the things you got to focus on without burning out and without becoming frustrated and overwhelmed in the process. So click the link on the page right now to learn more about how the course works, and I look forward to working with you in my Rapid Fire Guitar Practice Training program to show you how to practice guitar to get awesome results every single time. Until next time, subscribe to my YouTube channel, like the video if you haven't already, and I'll see you in the next one.